briefly caught back up. Allowed Otis, who wasn't here yesterday, to catch up with the vocabulary. We're going to add those definitions in a minute to give everybody a little refresher course. First thing I want to do is I want to read about the Monroe Doctrine. Let's see if I'm lucky today and I'm going to move it on the board. No, it's not going to work. All right? So I'll have to use the mouse. Anna, do you mind scooting over there and moving with the mouse for me? Or Mr. K is going to do it for us. All right. So we're going to very briefly read about the Monroe Doctrine again, just to kind of play catch up, especially for the individual who missed. Seeing the plight of Spain, Britain proposed joint British-American action to stop other European countries from establishing colonies in the Americas. John Quincy Adams opposed this plan because he thought the United States should act independently. Remember, we're at this point where we're trying to establish ourselves as our own independent nation. All right? We want to do things away from England, away from all of Europe. Following John Adams' advice, Monroe announced a new policy. We're about to find out what those pieces of that policy are. You can scan down for me. And we're going to hit the video. I know this is very difficult to read, so luckily they put it in a nice little multimedia piece. Like that? Yep. Well, I bet we don't have the sound again today. We'll restart it, guys. Read the words as they show up. You're about to hear about them. We can't get lucky with the sound.
The Monroe Doctrine states four major ideas. 1. The United States would not take part in any foreign
We're going to stay out of foreign wars.
2. The United States wouldn't interfere with any existing European colonies. 3. The American continents were not subject to further colonization.
2 and 3 says we're going to stay out of European business. Europeans are going to stay out of ours.
Any attempt by European powers to further colonize the U.S. would be considered a threat to America's peace and safety.
All right?
The first part of the
Come
document
back to
was
that.
a pledge that America would stay out of European affairs that did not concern the United States, and it wouldn't interfere with existing European colonies.
That's why I'm announcing for you. So the big pieces were, we're going to stay out of European wars. If Spain and Germany at this time were fighting, we're saying, I don't care if any of you are our allies, which at this point they weren't, we would say, that's your war. All right? Number 2 and 3 said that Europeans are going to stay out of our business and we're going to stay out of theirs. All right? At this point, we are separating ties. We are splitting them. And the last one said that if you come over here and try and colonize again, remember the Europeans came over to the Americas and set up those colonies that we talked about, Massachusetts and Virginia. All right? And then we grew from there. If you come over and try and add new colonies, we're going to consider that a threat. All right? That's almost like invading in my personal space. That's a threat. All right? That would be the same thing for Europeans coming over to the Americas at this point. All right? European countries, however, consider the Monroe Doctrine to be unimportant. Europeans said, I don't care what that little piece of paper says. The President's desire to guard the Western Hemisphere was somewhat ridiculous in the view of America's weak military position. However, knowing that the British Navy would back up the Monroe Doctrine, they made no attempt to restore Spain's New World Empire, and Spain finally recognized the independence of the American colonies in 1824. Russia agreed to establish the southern border of Alaska. Consequently, the Monroe Doctrine was never really tested, and its real importance lay when it would become the cornerstone of American foreign policy. Now, we've gone over questions 6, 7, and 8 yesterday, so we're actually going to zoom down. Actually, no, let's go back up, Mr. K, so he can get those definitions. My apologies. Got to play a little catch-up here, all the way to the top. And right above that, all right, here's your 2. If you try to make yours more neat for the quiz, or you just want to need a reminder, Otis, here's what we did yesterday. You're done, Jace? You're good?
Yeah.
Yesterday, we looked at this big definition. You think I'm going to make you write that big definition for Monroe Doctrine?
I'm not.
I know you're not, so let's make it easier. It says the Monroe Doctrine is the doctrine that European nations should not interfere with American nations or try to acquire more territory from the Western Hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine was derived from President Monroe's message to Congress on December 2nd, 1823, and became a part of the United States foreign policy. Billy, instead of writing that whole thing, what did we write?
European nations should not interfere with American nations.
There we go. We wrote these few words right here. Otis, let's see if I can get it better. Highlight it better. Maybe we can do it with the mouse. The European nations should not interfere with American nations. That's all we cared about. Those are the most important words. And if you understood those, you would understand. You want to come up closer, you can, bud. Come on up. Come sit right here. Bring your chair. The idea, European nations should not interfere with American nations. Very good.
That's not for this one.
While we are going through this, now that we have the other words, get that copy of notice and throw your hand up. We need 1,
Let's go. As long as you do understand what that means.
7. I'm going to give you 7
As long
total.
as you understand that this means you are visiting us with America, and America is connecting us with the world.
Where did you write down 7 definitions?
That might have been right,
Might
it
be
just wasn't
out.
this one.
Oh, no.
This one's good.
I don't know that you need all of these. Go ahead, Otis. Right on the line side, please.
Oh.
Yeah, on the line side, so you can flip them over. 3,
No,
4,
you're right. That
5,
one is good.
6,
Where are
7.
those?
I am going to give you the next series of words while Otis plays catch up and Jace finishes his up. All right, just so you guys have something to continue working on. I'm going to put them on this backboard if you don't mind. Miss Bro, you can keep the video forward. If you have any questions about my lettering here, feel free to raise your hand and ask. How you doing, Jace? You all caught up? Have the definitions?
Yeah.
Otis, you good on that first one? Almost done?
Yeah.
May have given you one too many cards, guys. If so, just put it up top of your desk and I'll get them before we're done. There you go. Dylan, if you'd like some help, maybe when Anna's done, she can help you. Maybe you guys can split duties. All right? Or Otis can help. You get yours done though first, Otis. So you got those 6 new words. If you can't read any of my lettering, I apologize. I'm a little tall, so when I get down here by my waist, it gets a little tough.
Dylan, hand me your phone. Your cards.
Those will be our words that we'll finish the day with, so you're getting a nice little head start. How you doing, Bubba? Almost done? How you feeling? You feeling a little better?
Yeah, what's that word number 5?
Number 5, squatter. S-Q-U-A-T-T-E-R.
That's
S-Q-U-A-T-T-E-R.
the newer one, or that's?
Yes, Jace, those are the new ones. You like to get started? That helps, huh? Do you need any more index cards?
What's the last one say?
Wildcat, I meant to put that as
Bank.
one word. Bank. Wildcat Bank. One word. It's not the, it is not the, my apologies, James. I know, I'll be doing the same thing. All right, we good? Next one, very quickly. Sectionalism. For one section without regard to the needs of other sections of the nation as a whole. Billy, what do we write for sectionalism? Support for one section, right? Did I get it? Support for one section. That's all I cared about. Because sectionalism opposes nationalism, opposes universalism, whatever you want to consider. Alright? So nationalism would be you saying, I'm from USA, I'm American. Sectionalism would be saying, I'm from Delaware. I'm a Delawarean. Right? Or, as we said yesterday, being a Yankees fan, or a Phillies fan, or a Steelers fan. Alright? Good?
What's that one
Which word?
in?
On the new ones, I put over there on the keyboard. You can start adding them. Does anybody have any extras? Does anybody have any
I
leftovers?
don't have this.
I just need two. Thank you, guys. All right, Otis, you don't need to get started on those just yet, but we're good now. You got the definitions. Those are going to be valuable when we get to the quiz. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. I just wanted you to catch up, so now you're caught up with everybody else in the room. Jace, you're caught up? All right, we can go finish. We're going to talk about the westward movement, and then we'll go on to the new vocab for tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
All right, couple paragraphs to read. If anybody wants to help me out with reading a little bit further, you can always raise your hand. You want to start?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. First paragraph. The
War
War of.
of 1812 was. I can't see that.
Scarcely.
Scarcely over when the
You can
westward
zoom a little bit. There you go.
movement. Oh snap!
Yeah, no, there you go. There we go. Now you can read it better. When the westward movement.
Movement began. The Native Americans had been
Pacified or calmed down.
pacified and
Fertile land.
fertile land was
What's available.
available, traveled. It was
Difficult.
difficult. However, and many travelers became ill on the
Frontier.
One Englishman
Observed.
observed
Okay.
these
Ailing. It's a tough one. There's a lot of vowels.
alien
Uh-huh.
pioneers
Pioneers. You had it.
and wondered
Mm-hmm.
why they
Endured.
what's that mean?
Endured. Lasted. Or made it through.
The
Rugged.
rugged road. The dirty holes,
Hovels.
the fire in the woods to sleep by, the pathless ways through the wildness
Wilderness. Close though. That's the word wild to start. Very good.
and the
What's this word?
danger,
Yep. So danger. Dangerous.
dangerous crossing of the rivers.
Good.
The answer was the
Chance.
chance to buy cheap.
Fertile.
I said this word before.
Fertile. Good.
Fertile land
Good job.
and the
Opportunity.
to begin a new life in the West.
All right, so people decided to start moving out west, and other people were wondering, why would you ever want to do that when you could just settle here and stay? Now, eventually, we're going to find out a little bit more as to why people were moving away from those original colonies. All right, 4 new states were soon admitted to the Union. Now, we recognize the term the Union because maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't heard, about a little war that happened just right here in our backyards. The North versus the South. What was that war? What was the war that happened, the North versus the South? It's going to happen a little bit later than this. All right, so you've probably heard about it in a social studies class before. Anybody remember? Starts with a C,
Wait, what
ends
did
with
you
an evil war. It was during colonial times. What is it? The Civil War, all right? There were 2 sides in the Civil War.
say?
And we're about to start talking about these opposing sides. One was the Union, the North, all right? And one was the, anybody know what it is? It was a big thing in the news a couple years ago. Pay attention to me, not the video, please. Follow directions. What was the big thing in the news recently? There was a big flag that we were not allowed to display anymore because of an issue. Anybody know what flag that is? It's not a pirate flag.
American flag?
It was part of the American flag in the past. It represented an American flag. Starts with a C.
Colonial?
Native?
Confederate?
Confederate flag, all right? That was the flag of the South, all right? So we had the Union and the Confederacy. Those were the 2 sides of this war we're about to get to, and you're about to find out a little bit why. 4 new states were added to the Union. Indiana, these are states we recognize today, they have not changed their name since. Mississippi, Illinois, and Alabama. Vermont, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee had previously joined the Union. All right, so consider these like 2 sides in a football game or pickup basketball game, all right? Westerners soon found a need for better transportation. Farmers harvested crops that exceeded their local needs and were looking for markets. Sending products back over the turnpike to the east was too expensive. This is important. Sending products back over the turnpikes to the east was too expensive, and shipping them down the Mississippi to New Orleans and from there to the eastern ports took too long. Alright, so getting things from the west, getting people from the west, whether by using a turnpike, a long dirt road at this point, nobody's jumping in their, SUV or truck or 18-wheeler or anything and traveling across country at this time. Alright? Cars don't exist. And it was way too expensive to send things down the river in a shipping boat. Alright, so we need a new method to get things from the west to the east and the east to the west. Alright? Now we just jump in an airplane. Now we send things by rail car. Alright, but these ways were the ways of the time. In 1817, last paragraph, DeWitt Clinton, a pretty important person when we get to the bottom, persuaded the New York State Legislature to authorize the building of a canal between the Hudson River and Lake Erie. Clinton's proposed canal would connect Albany and Buffalo. The distance was about 363 miles. And would cost $7 million. That would cost a lot more money these days. Alright? Labor costs, shipping everything needed, not to mention building a canal in itself would be a huge project. The project seemed so preposterous that it was sarcastically called Clinton's Big Ditch. However, the canal was completed in 1825, and freight rates between Buffalo and Albany dropped 90% per ton. Travel time was cut from 20 days to 8 days. So now it took 20 days, or 8 days, what formerly took 8 days, or 20 days, counting backwards. 8 days, what formerly took 20 days to move between these cities. Alright, things could travel at least partially west a little faster. So heavy was the traffic in the Erie Canal that it paid for itself within 9 years. That $7 million was recouped in 9 years. Other states followed New York's example and built canals to carry their products to market. Roll down for me a little bit. Alright, you do not need to, we had you close your eyes yesterday, you do not need to do that just yet. We're going to zoom through these questions. I want to see how many you recognize, whether from the reading yesterday, so some of you will be a little bit better suited than the others. But piece of candy still goes up. Let me put your names up on the board real quick. So Billy won yesterday with 4.5. I took a big bite of his crunch bar. Billy, Dylan, Chase is in the back, Otis,
Anna.
Anna. Wonder if all your initials are
I
spelled.
didn't hear no story yesterday, so.
Alright, ready? I only need you to select one that applies. There are 3 correct answers in this first question. You can read along with me, alright? We'll read the question answers and then we'll come back and vote for our answers, alright? Which of the following 3 points made up the Monroe Doctrine? Think about that, Monroe Doctrine. Thing we watched the video on, and the thing you have an index card on. Any effort by the United States to establish colonies in Europe would be viewed as a threat. That's answer number 1. Answer number 2, the U.S. would not take part in any foreign wars. Answer number 3, the U.S. would not interfere in any foreign colonies. Number 4, European countries could establish colonies in the Americas on a limited basis. And the American continents were not subject to future European colonization. If you have choice number 1, efforts by the U.S. to establish colonies in Europe would be viewed as a threat, raise your hand. It's a fair choice. I will tell you it is not a correct choice. Why? I mean, it might have been just one of those pieces that we left out of the document. It was kind of said, but not really said. Because we have this backwards. Any effort by Europe to establish colonies in the U.S. would be viewed as a threat. We didn't really have any interest in going to Europe and establishing colonies. We wanted our own thing, all right? People left Europe for religious prosecution and freedom to come to the United States, all right? So we didn't want to go back there. That's not a choice, but you still have a chance to get it right. I only need you to select one, and don't vote for every one. The U.S. would not take part in any foreign wars. Is that a good choice? Is that a good choice? Jace, you're on the board. Anna, you're on the board. All right, I'll put your points up at the very end. The U.S. would not interfere in any foreign colonies. U.S. would not interfere in any foreign colonies. Anybody vote for that one? No? That is a correct answer. Remember, we said we wouldn't go over there. They wouldn't meddle in our business, and we wouldn't meddle in theirs. All right? Next one, European countries could establish colonies in the Americas on a limited basis. Anybody vote for that one? Good choice. We're not letting them come over at all, much less
Is
on
there
a
more
limited,
than one right
limited
answer?
basis. Yes, there's more than one
Yes.
right answer. And number
I didn't know
5,
that.
the American well, you haven't voted yet, so you better throw your hands up. The American continents were not subject to future European colonization. Anybody vote for that one? Dylan. Good job by you. So Dylan, Billy, you could always voted. Dylan.
You can only vote once.
No, you could have voted multiple times. Once I told you got the first one wrong, you could have voted again. Dylan, Jace, Anna. We have plenty of other questions though. Trust me, there's other ones to choose from. Remember, we would not let European colonization continue in the Americas. Alright? The next question says, the European powers, this is a fill in the blank. All you need to do is give me a word that's close to it, if not right on it. The European powers viewed the statements of policy at this time as what? They said that the Monroe Doctrine was what? I'm going to give you a choice. Raise your hand if you think it was important. Europeans viewed the Monroe Doctrine as important. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you think it's unimportant.
Wait, are we allowed to put more than one?
No, this is only a one. Choose one or the other. Raise your hand for the first one if you think that Europeans saw the Monroe Doctrine as important.
Wait, what was the question?
If the Europeans viewed the Monroe Doctrine as important, raise your hand. I got 2 votes back there. The other choice was if the Europeans viewed the statement as unimportant, raise your hand. Mr. Kamau needs to get on the board. He's gotten 2 right so far. Unimportant. Remember, they said, that's just a piece of paper. Maybe you remember me saying that. They saw the Monroe Doctrine as just this thing, this fluky thing. All right? That's not going to mean anything to us. They don't really mean it when they say that they want to sever ties. All right? Unimportant was the correct answer. Number 11, select all that apply. You still got a chance to earn some candy. Trust me, I told you there's quite a few questions. More settlers moved westward after the War of 1812 for the following 2 reasons. All right? Following 2 reasons. Let's read through them carefully. Now we get them on the board. More out west. Plenty of cheap land. Peace had been made with Indians, and travel to the west was easy. You may vote twice.
What was the
Choice.
question again?
Choice number 1 for why more settlers moved westward after the War of 1812. Were there more jobs available out west? Raise your hand if you think it's more jobs. Dylan has voted once. Not the right answer. So I'm giving you a clue. Not the right answer. It's not more jobs. But in time we would have more jobs, right? What do we start doing in the West? It's a football team.
Steelers?
No, out west. That's a good one too. I didn't even think about that. So Texas, Dallas. Come on, guys.
Cowboys.
Cowboys. I know that I've been picked on at least once for being a Cowboys fan. All right, Dallas Cowboys. We started being ranchers and farmers and all those kind of things. We also moved all the way out west and we started mining gold. Gold, right? All right, so eventually jobs would exist in the West, but not yet. We're still too early for that. People haven't even moved out there yet. All right? There was plenty of cheap land. Raise your hand if you think plenty of cheap land. Raise it high, raise it high. You may vote twice. That is accurate. Let's put 3 on the board. Anna, Jace, and Billy got up there. Otis is eventually going to vote, I think. All right, remember, we're moving out west. Everything's so dirt cheap out there. No one really owns that land other than peace had been made with Indians. Raise your hand if you think peace had been made at this time with Indians. All right?
Yeah.
Peace had been made with Indians. What hands do I see? What hands do I see? 1, 2. Did I see your hand go up? No? Dylan. Anna, you could have had it there, Bill.
Oh.
Jace, Dylan. We did at this time make peace with Indians. Now eventually we're going to start thinning their land so much so that they're not going to have anything to live on. All right, that's when we're going to kind of falling out. And then travel to the west was easy. Did we say that earlier? Was travel to the west easy or difficult?
No.
It was what?
Difficult.
It was difficult. It was expensive. All right. Last question for this one, and then we're going to skip to the vocab. We're actually going to skip over the people section just for time purposes. All right, last one. Let's see if Otis can get on the board. I want him to vote. I might give him a clue. According to the lesson, how did the settlers in the West send their produce back to the east before canals were built? Remember, I focused on this.
Yeah.
All right, how did they send it back east before canals? Was it over railways and turnpikes and rivers, or neither? Alright? So think about what existed at this time.
What's a turnpike?
A turnpike at this time is not like the New Jersey Turnpike or the Pennsylvania Turnpike or I-95. It's not a big highway. It's a big dirt road. Alright? So that's what that was at that time. Now, what do you notice at least about A and B? They both have
Turnpike.
turnpikes. Did we read about turnpikes?
No.
No.
We didn't read about turnpikes? I didn't literally stop and say turnpikes. We didn't have cars back then, so you didn't take your SUV or your truck or your 18-wheeler.
yeah.
Oh yeah! Alright, so do you think turnpike's probably an answer? Okay, so now we just needed to
Like the
identify.
second one.
What else existed? Was
Rivers.
it railways
No.
or rivers?
Rivers.
Okay, so now by knowing this,
I do.
let's vote. If you choose A, railways and turnpikes, raise it up.
How many is there?
If you vote for rivers and turnpikes, raise it up. Dylan, you voted twice, but I'll give it to you. At this time, it was rivers that existed, all right? We just lived off of what was naturally made, okay? Railways would come a little bit later, all right? The only thing else I want to do, Mr. K, is just go over the vocab. We're not even going to put the definitions on the cards just yet, all right? We're going to just go over, look at the words, and understand them, all right? Just want to look at these few words, talk about them, see what you know, then I'll get your incentive candy, and we will be done so straight for the day. So these are your words. Inflation. Where have you heard the word inflation before?
When you're swollen.
When
Something is swollen.
something is swollen. What do you mean by swollen?
Like if you hurt your ankle, it swells up.
It what?
Expands.
Expands or inflates, right? So you don't need to write just, thank you, Mr. K. You don't need to write just yet, but sharp or sudden rise, in this case in prices, but a rise, right? She had a good analogy there, like a balloon. You inflate the balloon. Well, in this case, we're talking about the economy. All right? Nullify. Nullify is the next word. If I said, because you cheated on that test, your score is nullified. What am I saying?
It's not going to count.
Not going to count. Nullified. Removed. Gotten rid of. All right? Speculation. If I speculate whether Otis is paying attention right now or not.
This is very hard.
What am I doing? I'm speculating.
Thinking.
Kind of guessing, thinking, all right? Practice of buying and selling. In this case, we're speculating on whether an item's going to have value. All right? It's like when you jump on eBay and you keep hearing these rumors, wow, silver, the price of silver is going up. I better buy now. You're speculating. Or when you buy a stock. All right? If you ever own stock. You're speculating whether it's worth something in the future.
I do.
Spoil system. System or practice in which public offices are awarded supporters of the winning party. So a spoil system would be like Anna, who ran for class president yesterday. She won. And she knew Jace voted for her. This is made up. We just had the analogy
I was
yesterday.
about to say, what?
She won, and she knew Jace was out there campaigning for her. Helped everybody else vote for Anna.
Why?
So she goes, you know what? Jace, I'm making you treasurer. All right? Because he helped her out, she's kind of repaying the favor. All right?
I'm not liking you right now.
Squatter, all right? Person who settles on land without paying, without the rights to it, all right? So it would be like the analogy we were talking about earlier, those people that kept crashing on the couch, all right? They would be squatters, all right? And last one is a wildcat bank, very different than the system of national banks we had established, all right? Prior to the passage of the National Bank Act, a bank operation with insufficient capital to redeem its circulating notes. All right, so they would take your money, but they didn't necessarily have that money in storage to say, Billy, come on in. Why don't you withdraw from your account?
So,
All right, so Billy deposited $100, and then Billy came in a little bit later and goes, oh, I really need that money back. I got to go buy something. They might not have that $100 there because they've gone out and spent it. National banks were backed
Jace, don't
by the federal government, okay? We are done. As long as you have these words on cards, stack them up, make sure your initials are on them. I will go around and collect your cards and replace with your incentive candy, all right?
Can I get a snack?
I'm going to turn the lights on, Miss Brosher, we are done.